I didn't realize how lonely chaplaincy would be. I've officially been in the chaplaincy, and it has been a whirlwind of experience, a whirlwind of just learning on the go, building a plane as we're flying. But above all, it has been a blessing, an immense blessing. It has also been lonely. Sometimes you're just excited that God has called you, that God wants to use you, and being wrapped up in that fact is amazing. It's almost like a cupcake phase in a way, but after that wears off, or after you've been in it for a while, you start to realize, or you start to look around like I did, and I was like, where are my people? Where's my tribe? Where is my community? I was in the chaplaincy, but I didn't see anybody that looked like me. Granted, I had my head pastor who brought me into the fold and even introduced me to chaplaincy, and he was an older Black man. So I did have that, but I had nobody my age doing the same thing as me. And even if I did, they didn't look like me. And I'm not saying that that is the end all be all, but I am saying it is refreshing to see people who look like you work and walk alongside of you, because sometimes you'll feel like, man, there's somebody who gets it. And maybe not all of it, because it's not the fact that they look like you that they'll understand all of what you're experiencing or all of what you're going through. But it's still nice to see somebody who looks like you. These past couple of weeks, I've been in class because I am now a seminarian. Your boy's in seminary. Woo! And in doing so, getting in class and meeting new people, starting out their journey, some of them ending their journey, some of them, I came across people who looked like me. And not only did I come across people who looked like me, I came across people who were just starting their journey in the chaplaincy as well. And it was so refreshing because I had thought for at least the past year that the chaplaincy was some type of relic of an industry. Meaning, until I had met or heard about these people, I thought that I was going into an old man's arena. I thought that I was going into an industry that older ministry workers, older pastors, retired pastors, or clergy went into just to keep their ministry skills sharp and to have something to do after all of their years of ministry work. And I was incorrect about that because, one, you got to start somewhere. And if everybody was starting in the chaplains, like I thought in the older age, I would have a lot of classmates that were more so in their 60s and 70s. And while you might find one or two of those people who are more so maybe in their 50s and 60s, this is just not the case. So that realization came to my mind. And then also, too, why would I think that God was calling me to a place where he wouldn't have a remnant ready to revitalize or mobilize and go out into God's mission field? So those were refreshing things that happened this week as I was getting into grad school, meeting my classmates. I was pleasantly surprised and encouraged that I had classmates who not only looked like me, but were going into the same specialization as I was. Now another thing that was very encouraging was the fact that not only were there classmates that I could form a community with, that I could reach out and build and sharpen iron with, but there was also mentorship in the chaplaincy of men that looked like me as well, who had had decades of experience underneath their belt that I can also reach up to. So I was blessed in that because, like I said, for a year and some change, I was not alone, because I was never alone, but I felt like I wasn't able to tap into a community or a network of people doing the same thing that I was, and that left me lonely in the chaplaincy. Now, that kind of spread into the pastorate in a different way, because if I'm a year into the chaplaincy, I'm maybe 2 years, let's say, into the pastorate, and it was the same case. But I've also been accepted into a cohort here locally, and I say locally because where I'm doing grad school, where I'm at divinity school, it is in Virginia, and I live on the other side of the country, so I'm not there. I'm taking those classes online. But here locally, I have been accepted into a cohort of pastors and clergy that I can tap into here and do the same thing, sharpen iron. It just came a little bit later down the line. And one of the things that really just kind of I still rack my brain about is that what if the time that I spent quote unquote alone was like a wilderness period? I'll put it like this. When Jesus was about to start his ministry and he had got baptized or commissioned, the first thing that he did that kicked off his ministry was go into the wilderness. That was 40 days and 40 nights. But another example of that that sticks out in my mind is Paul. When Paul was radically changed on the Damascus road and the scales fell from his eyes based to a brother bringing him into the fold and affirming his call. What happened after that is that Paul went off for about 2 or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, and got built up, was trained, was poured into, was encouraged, was sharpened, and then he went out. I can recall an one other time in my life where I went through a process like that, and it was about 7 years ago now, right after I preached my first sermon. I was very blessed enough to have brothers who had already went through seminary, who had already pastored churches and things of that nature. Let me sit under them and learn from them for 2 years or so before I was asked to help run a church, before I got into seminary or any of those things. So I feel immensely blessed that I went through a period of the first period that I just described felt like a theoretical period where I was poured into and taught and groomed in the ways of the pastorate and homiletics and a litany of things. And then this past year or so, this past year in the chaplaincy and this past couple of years in the pastorate have been more of like the practical side of it, or like a practicum of sorts. So now that I feel like I have both of these things moving into seminary and moving forward in the chaplaincy with the network now is it's just a big blessing. It's a big blessing. It's like the example that comes to my mind is because I'm a movie guy. I like film. I'm thinking about the Avengers movie, and I believe it's Infinity Wars, when Thanos is kicking tail. He's doing what Thanos does. And Captain America and like maybe two or three other guys, they're beat. They're beat to the ground. And Cap has Thor's hammer. He's all beat up. They're about to square off for like a final showdown. They thought they had won and completed their objective, but didn't seem like it, right? And Thanos is ready to gear up for his final blow and get rid of these guys for good so he can go on and do what he needs to do and conquer the world, until Doctor Strange's circles kind of start popping up everywhere behind Captain America and Thor and the others. And it's all of the people that were blipped away 5 years ago, coming back, ready to join the fight, ready to spur the ones who have already been fighting along to victory with a fresh wind to carry them to it. And that's how I felt. And it made me think about this thought here in terms of the chaplaincy, but maybe not the chaplaincy, maybe something bigger than that. Because I believed a lie. And I started to isolate myself and move as if I didn't need anybody, not in a malicious way, but just as a survival instinct type of way. Because I had believed a lie that I was kind of just out here on my own, thugging it. And if somebody came along, cool. But if they didn't, I still got a job to do. The Lord has called me to do this, right? that wasn't all true. The Lord had called me to do certain things, but He never called me to do it alone. And it comes back to a verse that I'm always thinking about in so many different contexts now, but Genesis 2:18, it is not good for man to be alone in any context. And God proves this by being in community with the Son, with the Father, and the Spirit. They've been together since time immemorial. And they want the same for us. That's why God said it is not good for man to be alone. So I believe the lie. And maybe you've accepted a lie that says that you're the only one that's supposed to carry what you're carrying. Maybe the next thing that God wants to give you isn't necessarily another opportunity. What if it's people, right? What if it's a community? The questions that pop up in my mind when it comes to this is, where have I or where have you accepted isolation as a normal thing, right? Where have you just said, oh, I'm carrying this all by myself and that's okay. I don't need anybody, at least in this area. Maybe I need somebody in that area and I'll even ask for help. But in this area, I guess I just have to carry this by myself. Where have you been doing that? It is not good for man to be alone. That does not exclude the ladies. Man in this context means mankind. It is not good for man to be alone. That's what I've been reflecting on. That's my entry for today. I do hope that you will continue to go along this journey with me. I think that if you do, we can encourage each other. Matter of fact, let me know in the comments where you are working to stay present or what your reflections are as we go into 250 years as a country's existence. There's so many mixed emotions and feelings about this country and the world right now, but we have those feelings and we can put those up to seeing things, for instance, that are happening around the World Cup, where a sport has brought the entire world together, it seems like. I think life is a lot that way because I think life has a way of putting both beauty and sadness and suffering in either one of your hands, making you hold both of them at the same time. It's not one without the other. They typically go hand in hand in some shape, some form, some fashion, but it's still beautiful regardless. It's like if we were able to put those hands together, I believe what we would see is this type of mosaic that has beauty shown through it. And the sooner we can get to that type of perspective, I think that we can be more open to having certain dialogue that we have been just kind of shying away from because of our silo chambers, our echo chambers. But I believe in a God of restoration. I believe in a God of faithfulness. And if we stay faithful to His word, if we stay faithful to who He is and respond in kind by going forth, making those disciples, by leading in love, by taking advantage of the pockets that He gives us to stay present so that we can truly appreciate everything that the Lord is doing in our lives. There's no telling what we could do. I think we'd be dangerous in a good way. But I digress. That's my entry for today. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. I'll see you in the next one. But until then, stay present.